guys, Kelly with St. Johns County Parks and Recreation, back again for another awesome educational video here. Last week we talked specifically about sea turtles, so this week I want to talk about all the other awesome turtles in Florida because there's way more than just sea turtles. So once again, little introduction, who I am, where I work. I work for St. Johns County, which we're super lucky here. So we have the sea turtles along the ocean Atlantic side. We have a cool mix of turtles in our intercoastal brackish water areas. We have tons of freshwater turtles that you might find right in your backyard. And then we also have land turtles here. So you find a good mix of types of turtles here in St. Johns County. Now, I specifically work for our Parks and Recreation department. Our Parks and Recreation department is a super diverse department. We handle everything from ball fields to trails, and hopefully you guys are getting out and utilizing those spaces and enjoying this beautiful Florida weather that we're having right now. My job usually pertains to kayak trips and beach walks and fun outdoor activities that I would get to bring you guys in person that we're going to get to do virtually for the next couple of weeks. So my job is the Parks Naturalist for St. Johns County, and I get to share all of my awesome knowledge about our local environments with you and help you learn about what might be right outside your window. So today we'll look at turtles specifically, and we know that turtles are reptiles. So if you've been watching these presentations, you should be able to answer what makes a reptile a reptile. There's some really key characteristics that are distinctive to the reptile group. So think about what those things are. If you haven't watched the other videos, guess what they are. We'll see how many you get right. All right, ready? So those 5 things are, they are vertebrates. So just like with our sea turtles and our snakes and our alligators, they all have backbones. And not only do they have backbones, they have backbones that are fused to their shells. So at no point are there naked turtles running around that have popped out of their shell and their shell's been left behind. They grow with their shell just like we grow with our bones. They also have leathery eggs, which is really important, especially in the case of the sea turtle, because their eggs drop potentially 2 to 3 feet. And if it was hard like a chicken egg, it would crack. They have scales, which on turtles are called scutes, and every single turtle has some sort of form of scutes. They're cold-blooded, so even the ones that spend time in the water, they're getting their heat and their energy from that water temperature. Our freshwater turtles, a lot of times we'll see basking in the sun, and that's them trying to warm up and get some energy. And then they also breathe air. So just like you and me, when we go to the pool, we go underwater, we're holding our breath. And so when these guys go underwater, even though they can stay underwater much longer than we can, they too have to at some point come up and surface. So in the state of Florida as a whole, we have about 26 species of native turtles that are supposed to be here that are from Florida. We have one species that's non-native that you'll find a lot, and that's going to be that red-eared slider. So that's that top right picture on your screen. That red-eared slider is from the Mississippi Delta. It's from the mouth of the Mississippi. So it's still from the U.S., and they've hybridized a lot with our yellow-bellied sliders, but they are not originally from Florida. So I just want to cover sea turtles really briefly in case you missed last week's presentation. Go check it out. We go all in depth about sea turtles. I just want to highlight some species that we have here that utilize our St. Johns County beaches and waterways. So there are 7 species of sea turtles in the whole wide world. You can find 5 species in our waters swimming around. So that's going to be your leatherback, your loggerhead, your hawksbill, your green sea turtle, and your Kemp's ridley. Only 3 of those really nest here, and the 4th, which is a Kemp's ridley, is an occasional nester. So we get 1 or 2 nests like every other year. But the main 3 that we're going to talk about over these next couple slides are going to be our loggerhead sea turtles, our leatherback sea turtles, and our green sea turtles. So our loggerhead sea turtles, I want to talk about first just because they're the most common. By far, in the state of Florida and in St. Johns County, we get the most loggerhead sea turtle nests compared to any other species of sea turtle. And these guys get their name because they have a really huge head, and they use that huge head and powerful muscles to crack stuff open. So they're eating things that have shells like crabs and mollusks. These guys can get to be about 3 feet long, weigh about 200 to 300 pounds, and they are carnivores. So like I said, they're cracking stuff open. They want that meat inside that shell. These guys are found in temperate and tropical waters throughout the world, so they're not unique to Florida. But like I said, we do have a lot here, and they are by far the most nests that we get every single season. Then we have our green sea turtles. So we won't start seeing our green sea turtles till a little bit later in the season. They like it to be a little bit warmer in the water. So these guys on average can be about 5 feet long and can weigh anywhere from 300 to 500 pounds. They're a tropical and subtropical species. So like I said, they want that warmer water. So they'll wait for temperatures to warm up and then they'll come on in and start nesting. They're the largest of all of the hard-shelled turtles in the whole wide world. So notice I said hard shell because the next one we're going to talk about has a softer shell. And these guys are the second most common nester here in St. Johns County. So we have a huge abundance of loggerhead nests. We usually get a good grouping of green sea turtles every year. And then leatherbacks we get the fewest of. So usually somewhere between 10 and 20 leatherback nests. Leatherbacks are so cool. They have this leathery back, which is why they're not considered a hard-shelled turtle. And these guys have this leathery back because they dive really deep distances underneath the water. And if they were to have a hard back, that shell would actually start to crack from the pressure of all that water above them. These guys are humongous. So they can be over 7 feet long. They can weigh over 1,200 pounds. And they like to eat jellyfish. So this is what the inside of their mouth looks like. That's super crazy. They have all these insane teeth on the inside of their mouth, and that's all to make sure that those slippery jellyfish make it all the way into their belly. Now, we get these early on in the season, so they're coming up on our beaches as we speak, and we only get, like I said, a handful of them, somewhere between 10 and 20 a season. So we've left the ocean, we've covered what those sea turtles have going on, and we're moving slightly further inland to our brackish water environments. So brackish water is that mixture of fresh and salt water. That's going to be our intercoastal areas. And there is one turtle there that will spend a lot of time there. So while our sea turtles, especially juvenile green sea turtles, will spend time in these intercoastal areas, Diamondback terrapins, as you can see on your screen here, are the only turtle that spend their whole life in that environment. They're super cute. They have this like Dalmatian-like pattern on them. But they're small. They're not nearly the size of sea turtles. So they're 5 to 10 inches long. And typically the males are a little bit smaller than the females. They're highly variable in coloration. So if you look at the middle picture here on your screen, those are all Diamondback terrapins. And just like we all have different hair colors, they have different shell colors and different color combinations that they come in. These guys are found from Massachusetts over to Texas. And there are 7 subspecies seven subspecies of the Diamondback terrapin found in the United States. 5 of those 7 we have here in the state of Florida. So that's really unique. And these guys were almost pushed to extinction because people were harvesting them to eat them. But there's some protections on the terrapins. These guys, like I said, are small. They're super cute. If you've seen one in the wild, you're super lucky. I still have yet to see a Diamondback terrapin in the wild. It's on the list of animals that I dream of seeing one day. They're very elusive. They usually hide out from people pretty well. So if you catch one, you're super lucky. Or catch one as in like get to take a picture of one. Don't actually catch one physically. And like I said, those are the only turtles that are in our brackish water environment. So as we leave our brackish water, we come further inland. We're talking our streams and our rivers and a lot of the ponds behind people's houses. That's this next category of turtles, and that's going to be our freshwater turtles. So take a look at this picture here on this screen and see if you can figure out what kind of turtle this is. This is probably one of the most common freshwater turtles that people see. They're a little funny looking. See if you know what it is. I'll tell you what it is on the next slide here. Yeah, so if you guessed Florida softshell turtle, you would be correct. These guys are about 2 feet long and they're super squished. They're really flat for a turtle. And they really only leave the water for short periods of time. You'll occasionally see them basking on the shorelines of the water or potentially walking from one water body to another, but they spend the vast majority of their time submerged in the water. These guys, as you can tell, have a super long neck, so they can extend their neck about 1/3 the length of their body. And they're probably in the pond behind your house. So just check and see if you see things surfacing. You'll notice these guys have like a really distinctive snorkel nose. They have this like little long nose, and they just stick that nose up when they surface, and they'll breathe and they'll go right back under the water. These guys, keep in mind, if they are trying to cross the road and you're trying to help them, note that their neck is super long. It extends 1/3 of the length of their body. So if you want to help move these guys, you're actually going to want to carry them back closer to their hind legs so that they don't try to bite you, or just escort them. You don't necessarily have to handle them. Always remember, if you are handling wildlife because you're trying to help them, you need to wash your hands or wear gloves. The next one is the common snapping turtle. This is usually the one that slightly scares people. These guys have really long necks and long tails, and they spend the vast majority of their time underwater. It's very rare that you would see one of these guys on the banks, kind of like a soft-shelled turtle. They are nocturnal, so they are going to be most active at night, and they have super strong, powerful jaws. Now, here in St. Johns County, we only have the common snapping turtle, but I hear all of these stories about this alligator snapping turtle. And while we have the alligator snapping turtle here in the state of Florida, we do not have alligator snapping turtles here in St. Johns County. We are not included in the range maps for that species. And so to demonstrate to you the difference between an alligator snapping turtle and a common snapping turtle, I have a great video for you guys to check out.
I'm Coyote Peterson, and today we're going to show you the difference between the common snapping turtle and the alligator snapping turtle. I oftentimes question whether or not there is a predator in the wetland ecosystem that is more perfectly designed than the snapping turtle. Try to imagine yourself as a fish out for a morning swim, and around each and every lily pad you turn, there may be a set of bone-crushing jaws waiting to meet you. Snapping turtles rule their food chain, and the wetlands of America are their kingdom. There are two very distinct types of snapping turtles that have multiple species within their respective genera. To keep it simple, we will talk generically about the common snapping turtle, which grows to an average weight of 30 pounds and is native to nearly the entire eastern half of the United States, parts of Mexico, and Central America. Then there is the larger alligator snapping turtle, which averages close to 70 pounds, a threatened species whose range has been reduced to the southeastern United States. These reptiles are truly ancient, and today we are lucky enough to have both of these species on hand, so we can give you an up-close look at their distinct differences. This is Adam Ramirez, the true turtle man of Louisiana. And what we have for you guys here are our two distinct dragons. Now, as you guys know, I'm from Ohio. I'm used to catching this guy right here, the common snapping turtle, or as I refer to it, the mud dragon. Now, what Adam's used to working with is this guy right here, what they refer to as loggerheads, the alligator snapping turtle. So you said this is about the average size of the common snapping turtles that you guys get down here, right?
Yeah, that's about the average.
Now, for me, this is a small common snapping turtle. Really? Now, I know a lot of you have seen our other videos on snapping turtles and you thought, gosh, these alligator snapping turtles seem really, really calm. Now, as soon as you get an alligator snapping turtle out of the water, handle it gently, put it on your knee, they really do calm down. Is that what you experience, Adam? Almost all of them, after they've been captured, figure, okay, the more I struggle, the more energy I'm going to waste. The common snapping turtle is a much more aggressive species than the alligator snapping turtle. Let me see if I can get him to strike here. Yeah, you see how fast that head shoots out the mouth? Now, the alligator snapping turtle, I'm going to keep you away from my nose, doesn't ever really strike his head out. See that? He'll open his mouth up wider and say, go ahead, get your hand close to those scissor-like jaws, but he's not he's not even going to actually strike. See that? I can get my hand all the way in front of his face. I don't recommend you ever try that at home with either of these turtle species, but the point I'm trying to prove is that the common snapping turtle is much more aggressive than the alligator snapping turtle. Now, the one major difference between all snapping turtles that makes them separate from other turtle species is that they cannot tuck their extremities into their shell. You see how small the plastron is on both the common and the alligator snapping turtle. You have all of this exposed muscle, and that's why they've developed these incredible defensive techniques. And you see both turtles have their mouths open right now, both of them ready to bite if we get our fingers too close. But look at the bite spread on the alligator snapping turtle as compared to the common snapping turtle. Huge difference there. Now, alligator snapping turtles hunt by laying on the bottom of slow-moving creeks and rivers with that little worm-like appendage. You see that right there? In the base of his mouth, looks just like a worm. Now that's how these turtles hunt, because they're ambush predators. Common snapping turtles are nomadic predators, which means that they're going to move about in a body of water looking for their prey, actually hunting it down before they catch it, kill it, and consume it. Now, the carapace is the top of the shell, and you can see that the common snapping turtle has a much smoother appearance as compared to the spiky appearance of the alligator snapping turtle. Common snapping turtles typically inhabit ponds like you see behind us, and alligator snapping turtles are usually found in slow-moving creeks and rivers. Now, the common snapping turtles have these large, pointy osteoderms on their tails. Now, osteoderm is just a piece of bone covered in scale. You can see it really looks like the spikes on the tail of a dragon. You see the osteoderms on the alligator snapping turtle are a lot smaller, and as these turtles grow and their tails get bigger, the osteoderms actually get smaller, which is the opposite with common snapping turtles. As a common snapping turtle continues to grow, its tail gets fatter and the osteoderms become more pronounced. Now, if you look at the nose of the common snapping turtle, it's short and blunt. The nose of the alligator snapping turtle is much longer. And these turtles, all they need to do is stick their heads up out of the water, body stays completely submerged. They can use those little eyes as periscopes looking around, get a breath of air, and then disappear back down into the murky abyss. Wow, this was pretty cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this, getting the chance to see a common snapping turtle compared to an alligator snapping turtle. Adam, thanks for getting us up close with these turtles. We're going to put them back into the wild, and then we're going to go look for some monsters, aren't we? Yeah. All right, tonight we're heading out into the creeks to look for dragons.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and now you know the difference between an alligator snapping turtle and a common snapping turtle. Odds are the one behind your house in the pond is going to be that common snapping turtle. The next turtles you'll find in ponds and creeks and waterways that are fresh is the chicken turtle. So the chicken turtle is about 6 to 9 inches long. It has this really long yellow striped tongue, and it's called the chicken turtle because it's supposed to taste like chicken. I don't recommend you catching it and eating it, but people say it tastes like chicken, and that's how it got the name chicken turtle. These guys are semi-aquatic, meaning they spend some of their time in the water, some of their time on land, so they're not always going to be submerged and swimming around. This is going to be one of those turtle species that you'll see basking in the sun on logs on the sides of the banks of the waterway. And they have, instead of more flipper-like appendages, they have almost flipper feet that are webbed, that have claws on it that allow them to climb and get around on land. Then we have our mud and musk turtles. These are super teeny tiny turtles. They're maximum 5 inches long. That's a pretty big mud or musk turtle. And these guys are oval in shape, and they have this distinctive little dome on their back. And so they're very unique in the way that they look. And these guys are bottom-dwelling turtles, so they're pretty much only coming up for air, and they're going to be down in the mud and the muck at the bottom of ponds and streams and waterways. And they're going to be brown, and they're going to use that cryptic coloration to blend in with that mud and muck at the bottom of the waterways. And the reason that they're called musk turtles is that they have 2 sets of musk glands. So if you don't know what musk or musking is, it basically emits this really foul odor, hoping that you'll leave it alone or that a predator would leave it alone. So if you, for some reason, handle a mud or musk turtle, know that you're probably going to get a little stinky because they're going to emit that odor. And then we have our all-around cooter species. There's lots of different types in Florida. This is very common. So if it's not a chicken turtle sitting there basking in the sun, it may be a Florida cooter. They're about 10 to 15 inches long. So they're a bigger hard-shelled turtle in our freshwater waterways. There are red-bellied and Florida cooters, and these guys are going to be right up there on that log basking with that chicken turtle. A really unique but really pretty turtle, if you ever get the opportunity to see this, this is also on my list with Diamondback Terrapins, are the spotted turtle. These guys are 3 to 5 inches, so they're tiny. They're small little turtles. And they're black, and they have these really adorable yellow polka dots. And they spend a lot of time on land. So if you check out the feed on this guy, you'll notice it's less flipper-like, less webbed, and they'll be around water bodies, but you're not necessarily going to see them swimming, hanging out, diving into water bodies on a regular basis. They're going to be kind of on the edges and peripheral of those water bodies. And like I said, look at those feet. Those feet are good for walking on land. They'll do for swimming, but they're really going to spend most of their time on land. And then we'll move into predominantly land turtles that really don't enter the water at all. We have 2 of them. Typically land turtles are called tortoises, so I don't really know what happened with this next guy that he got called a turtle. So this is the Florida box turtle. The Florida box turtle is about 4 to 6 inches long. He has a really dome-shaped shell. It has these really intricate patterns on them that are orangish or yellow. And these guys are going to be found on the edges of wetlands. We're really not going to see them swimming. They've got those feet that are made for land. Like I said, they really should be a Florida box tortoise, but somehow they got the turtle name. And they can do something super cool. So these females, when they're ready to lay their eggs, can actually hold their eggs in and just lay them later. So they can really wait until the optimal place and time to determine where and when they want to lay their eggs. These guys are neat. You'll probably find them in your backyard if you start looking hard enough. They're all around, but they're small. They're cute. We also have, finally, my absolute favorite turtle, my absolute favorite animal, the Gopher Tortoise. So the Gopher Tortoise is about 9 to 14 inches long, and they're a burrowing species. So they have these elephant-like feet that they use to walk around on land, but they also use those feet to dig. So they dig these burrows underground that can be anywhere from 6 to 10 feet deep to 15 feet long usually, and they can be way longer than that. That's just an average burrow. And they spend about 80% of their time in those burrows. And these burrows are super important because they're what makes them a keystone species. So a keystone species gets its name because in an arch, when you build an archway, that center stone at the very top middle of the arch is called a keystone. If you remove that keystone, the whole arch falls. Well, the gopher tortoises, because of their burrow, provide a huge resource for our local ecosystems. That burrow is used by over 250 different types of species. So we have snakes and small mammals like mice, we have insects, we have frogs, we have lizards, all types of animals utilizing these burrows either for temporary or long-term shelter. These species are found in Florida where it is high and dry, so think the beach dunes, forest area, anywhere that's really sandy, that's well drained. Now they can't swim. They're very, very, very bad at swimming. They are made to be on land. But here in St. Johns County, our gopher tortoises have been documented, and I've witnessed it with my own eyes, coming down from the dunes, going to like where the sand meets the water, sitting, letting the waves wash over them. We think it might be for ticks, but we don't know. Sitting there, cooling off, getting those ticks off maybe, and then going back up into the dune. Now, if they hang out in that area for too long or they get swept out to sea, no bueno, because they can't swim. Now, if you know anything, hopefully, about me and my office mate here, these next 2 videos are of Augie. So Augie is a wildlife gopher tortoise ambassador that we have FWC permits to keep, to house, and to utilize for education programs. And his favorite treat is strawberries. So watch him eat these strawberries down. They have no teeth. They have this cute pink tongue on the inside, and he just kind of munches on that and swallows it down whole. Now, strawberries are a treat for him when he's doing really well, or I need him to take medicine or take vitamins. He gets it in the form of strawberries. But on a day-to-day, regular basis, he is an herbivore that's eating natural, native Florida plants. So this is him munching on tasty little weeds growing in his enclosure here. And so that's what he mainly does all day. If he's not hiding out in his mock burrow because he can't dig, which is why we have him, he's just going around his enclosure munching on grasses and flowers and things that are tasty. So if you haven't checked out Live with Kelly and Augie, we do have a special every single week, Tuesdays at 10 on the St. Johns County Facebook page, where we bring in local St. Johns County experts on different topics. So check that out, Tuesdays 10, St. Johns County Parks and Recreation. You'll find Augie and I there meeting somebody really cool, talking about neat environmental things. So hopefully you've seen some of these turtles, or you haven't seen some of these turtles and you're inspired to, be on the lookout for them when you're on your next adventure. And there's several things that you can do to help our turtles here in the state of Florida. So first and foremost, do not feed them. So we really don't want to feed any wildlife. Usually what we're feeding them is not their regular food, because how many of us are walking around with algae or little tiny fish or little tiny bugs in our pocket? I know I'm not. So we don't want to feed them, because what we're feeding them is usually bread. Bread is not really that great for us, so it's definitely not good for turtles, and there are no little turtle bakeries that they can go to naturally get bread. So we don't want to feed them, and by feeding them, we're actually encouraging them to approach people and to get near people, and that's a really bad behavior for our wildlife to get into the habit of, because most of the time, people pose a threat to wildlife, so we don't want to encourage them to approach wildlife. Also, reduce your beach lighting if you live at the beach, or you're visiting the beach, or you're walking the beach at night with a flashlight. So during sea turtle nesting season, which runs from May 1st to October 31st, we want to keep our beaches nice and dark, because those bright white lights distract our sea turtle friends, and we don't want them to be distracted from nesting or from hatching. Reduce, reuse, recycle, refuse. And this really is great for sustainability as a whole and our ecosystems as a whole. We want to make sure that we're reducing the amount of plastics that we're using, that we're living a sustainable lifestyle that will help keep our ecosystems pristine for generations to come. Be a responsible dog owner. This is really true on the beach. We do have leash laws here in St. Johns County, and so we don't want anybody's dog running off on a trail or on a beach and going after a turtle or a tortoise. And then we also don't want them to dig up nests. So at the beach, we unfortunately have had incidences in the past of dogs who have gotten off of leash who have dug up sea turtle nests. Not good. Also, when you are trying to help those turtles cross the road, because we've all seen it, make sure that you're sending the turtle in the direction in which it is going. So you don't want to put it back from where it came. That's not helpful, because that turtle has a little internal GPS, and so after you drive away feeling really great that you saved that turtle from getting smashed in the road, that turtle is just going to try to cross the road again. So send it in the direction it's going, even if it doesn't seem like it leads anywhere. That turtle is on a mission. Give them a buffer. So we want to make sure that we are social distancing with any wildlife. There's absolutely no reason to be crowding them or up in their space. If you want to get a good picture, just zoom on in, don't get in closer. And if you use crab traps, make sure that you install these TED devices, also known as a turtle excluder device. So these turtle excluder devices allow things like terrapins, which are really important in our brackish water system, to be able to escape those crab traps and come up for air. So like we talked about, all of these turtles have lungs. They have to be able to get to the surface to breathe. If they are trapped inside a crab pot for too long, they potentially could drown. So we want to make sure that they have safe exit while keeping all of the delicious crab we want to eat inside the pot. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get to them. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation and that you get outside and find some of these amazing creatures right in your backyard. Thanks, guys. Bye.